If you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. In my dreams I see these people, these monsters and these aliens. Things that never existed, that never came to be. People that were cut off from our reality. Let's take a look at the cut characters and enemies of Half-Life 2. The Consul was the predecessor to Dr. Wallace Breen. Unlike him, the Consul didn't have a name. His rank was his name. Not much is known about this character, but his face would be plastered across City 17 and every other place where his power ruled supreme. The concept was the same though. The Consul would have been answerable to his Combine overlords, just like Breen. But it is not specified that if he was the one to stop the 7-hour war in this timeline. Eli Maxwell, we'll talk about him shortly, has a line in the beta files that says, "They call him the Consul now." This line implies that Dr. Wallace Breen, or the Consul, this character was always intended to be the former Black Mesa administrator. There's a piece of concept art that shows that Alex is being held by Helena Mossman while Gordon points a gun at the Consul. So the plot point about Alex being kidnapped was always there as well. Through the concept art, we also know that the Consul was to become this hideous alien-like creature by the end of the game, and finally achieve his goal of immortal life. Eli Maxwell was one half of what became Eli Vance. Captain Vance was the other half, and we'll talk about him too. Eli Maxwell had no relation to Alex Vance. Alex was the daughter of Captain Vance in this timeline. Maxwell, on the other hand, was a scientist that worked in his lab, which consisted of a scrapyard and a cave. Dog from the retail game did exist, but only in concept form, and had a different appearance from what we can see. Eli Maxwell's lab is quite different than the Black Mesa East lab we see in retail. However, Eli Maxwell would be the person who would educate Gordon on what happened while he was in status. Eli would tell him about the air exchange, the Consul, and give him the gravity gun. It is unknown what happens to him by the end of the story. Helena Mossman was the predecessor to Judith Mossman. Although her role in the story was quite similar to the retail Dr. Mossman, her appearance was different. She was to be the director of Kraken Base, the underwater base in the Arctic Sea. Interestingly, the same scenario where Kleiner teleports Gordon to Judith also happens in this timeline, but instead of going from Kleiner's lab to Black Mesa East, Gordon would be teleported from Kleiner's lab to Kraken Base, but the sequence would fail, just like in retail. Another thing of note is that Mossman's betrayal was decided since the beginning. Whether she was on Gordon's side or the Consul's side, in truth, we'll never know. But before meeting Helena, you would first meet Odell, originally known as Owen. He was the last surviving crew member of the Borealis, and he would help Gordon in reaching the Borealis and then later the Kraken base. Unlike his retail successor's personality, Odell was more sarcastic and wittier. His was one of the first 3D models created for the game during development, as Odell can be seen throughout a lot of the beta maps, being used as a reference for measurements, lighting tests, and even serving as a placeholder for characters that weren't modeled yet. Odell was completely cut from the game, and his fate by the end of the story is unknown. The original starting train ride was much longer than what we see in the retail version. It started off in the middle of the wasteland with the ruins of the old city in the distance. As Gordon wakes up, a man by the name of Samuel notices him on the train. He quickly gives Gordon a gas mask and informs him about the air exchange and how the air is unbreathable now. And lastly, he tells Gordon that the destination of the train is City 17. Samuel also explains that there are other cities like City 49 where he spent the last trimester, and how it is very similar to City 17 and City 40. All cities from an alternate timeline. The first person Gordon met on his journey, never to be seen again. The conscripts were a military group, forcibly incorporated into the Combine Force. They were the lowest in the hierarchy, even lower than the Metro Police Force. While they seemed like working for the Combine, they were actually working undercover with the Resistance, and their leader, Captain Vance, despite being tasked by the Combine to protect the air exchange, Vance worked with the Resistance in taking down the Combine themselves. Vance and his men openly revolted after Gordon Freeman destroyed the air exchange and the uprising in City 17 began. Gordon and Alex would meet up with Vance at the fabled weather control base, destroy it, and fly back to City 17 in either a C-130 or a helicopter. Now then, why don't we look at some of the more dangerous characters? The Combine alien assassin went by many names: the Breeder, the Prowler, the Shock Trooper. It would use its long claws to slash its victims' face off, throw grenades, and move extremely swiftly. It would also use smoke to conceal its movement. The alien assassin was the first form of what we know as the fast zombie in retail. It also had another variant called the zombie assassin. That enemy was only designed but never programmed. The alien assassin was cut to make way for the fast zombie. Familiar faces like the Bull Squid and Hound Eyes existed in this alternate world, behaving same as they did in the first game. Both of them proved to be difficult creatures to deal with. There's also this aquatic variant of the Bull Squid, which would act something like a crocodile. We can't consider Bull Squids cut though, because Mark Laidlaw, the writer of the game, said they still exist around here somewhere. That means they're still out there in the retail timeline. The Hound Eyes look a bit skinnier than before, but are obnoxious all the same. No specific reason was given for cutting them from the game. Predecessor to the Overwatch Elite, the Camouflage Soldier, originally known as the Combine Elite, has a unique ability. It can blend into the surroundings. This makes him extremely difficult to fight. There's also a sniper variant who can easily stay out of sight and murder you in just one shot. If there's a synonym for Juggernaut, it would be probably the Combine Guard. Equipped with what is essentially a portable Strider cannon, the Combine Guard is very, very hard to defeat. And his impenetrable armor doesn't help as well. At one point in development, the Combine Guard was stated to be a boss as well. Normal bullets or explosives don't even scratch him. The strategy was to grab heavy objects with the gravity gun and throw them at him. This would break his armor, demobilize him, and then kill him. Then there's the lethal Combine assassin, Femme Fatale. Equipped with 2 automatic pistols and a rifle, she's deadly at both close range and long range. Developed originally as the successor to Half-Life 1's female assassins, the Combine assassin's only remnant is her helmet, which were later given to the elite Overwatch soldiers. Even the uniform looks similar to those of the elites. In combat, she can move fast and maneuver around the battlefield quickly. If you come across one of these assassins, just hope that you can run faster than her, because she's not going to let you go that easily. The Combine Super Soldier is the earliest draft of the elite Overwatch soldiers. Although depicted as humanoid in this video, the actual Combine Super Soldier was to be a mini Strider of sorts, but with the proportions of a human. Its large size made it unusable in the Citadel levels of the game and was subsequently cut. Some speculate that these were the mechs that Gordon was going to fight at Weather Control. The Combot and the Wasteland Scanner are two scanner units cut from the game. The Combot is a direct predecessor to the City Scanner we see in retail, and even shares the same appearance apart from the larger lens on the front. The Combot, when provoked, attacks Gordon with a flashing light to blind him, throws toxic gas, or straight up lights him on fire. The Wasteland Scanner, on the other hand, would have been mostly seen in the Wasteland, as the name implies. Its main attacks were either shooting Gordon with lasers or chugging grenades at him. Crab Synth and Mortar Synth. Not specifically cut because you can see them in the Citadel in the retail game, but here they are rejuvenated to their original intentions. The Crab Synth is immune to all bullets and explosions because of its armor. The only way to kill a Crab Synth is to have something explode beneath its belly. How it charges at you is a terrifying sight to see. Apart from that, it has a Gatling gun which it uses to attack from afar. The Mortar Synth is an aerial unit. Was supposedly going to make an appearance mainly in the Skyscraper chapter and the Street War chapter, among others. It would attack Gordon with electric bolts or energy grenades, a formidable foe. Both of these were reduced to props in the final game, as we see both of them in the Citadel on conveyor belts going somewhere. The Combine Janitor, or better known as the Cremator. His main purpose was to remove the corpses from the streets by burning them, clean up the incoming trains of any wildlife, and patrol parts of the wasteland to destroy any Zen fauna. In earlier parts of the story, the Cremator would have been a passive NPC minding his own business, but later on he would have been an extremely dangerous enemy to fight. There's no coding or animations of it in the beta, but from the audio that players found, the Cremator was most likely going to be an enemy commonly seen and fought with after the uprising began. In the beta, you'd be careful near the water. There's a chance a Hydra would come out and impale you on its sharp head. A transparent, worm-like creature, the Hydra was cut very late in development. Main reason was that it looked cool from afar, but in combat it felt unsatisfying. The Hydra looked like a giant blob if you got too close to it. They had to cut it out. As I've sometimes said, cut content is always interesting to look into, and for a game like Half-Life 2 even more so. We see how ideas came to be and how they changed and how they got cut, what was planned, what could have been and what never was. I hope you enjoyed this video. If I missed anything, comment below and let me know. There are a couple of more cut enemies that never made past the concept art stage. If you would like to see them in a video, let me know in the comments below. But for the meantime, thank you for watching.